Greetings my friends and welcome back to the channel. So this is the start of the Jagdpanther build. It's going to be a big build, so we're going to obviously be over the Jag, we're also going to be doing a diorama with it as well. Now what I plan to do, which I mentioned in the last video, in the review video of this, is that we're going to sort of split the tank in two, but without actually splitting the tank in two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a diorama of two parts. One of the tank in operation, in an operational field with some crew, and on the other side is going to be a museum with some people. We're going to have some photographers on that side. We're also going to be using some of the parts that would have gone into the model that I weren't going to use, and put those as museum pieces. So we're going to be using the engine for that. We're going to be using one of the shell racks for that as well, and with a bit of luck I'm going to be able to hopefully scratch build some little display cases for a couple of extra shells. I'm also going to be cutting a hole in the side of the vehicle, even though it has got a perfectly good clear part for the roof. I've kind of got me into, well, the inspiration for this and doing cutting the hole out the side is at what used to be the Imperial Museum, London, which I think was called Lambeth Museum. They've got a Jagdpanther there, which they cut a chunk of the side out. It wasn't as much as what I'm planning on doing. It's just a small section, so you can see inside. That has now been moved to the Imperial Museum at Duxford, if anybody's interested in that bit. So yes, that's where kind of part of the inspiration for this has come from. The main inspiration, as I said, I come up with some stupid ideas for what I want to kind of do and the way they evolve, and this was just having a couple of empty shells on the engine deck. That was literally all it was. The Jagdpanther was the one I landed on for this project. It's got a nice massive engine deck. So yeah, so obviously that's going to be in there as well, and it kind of just snowballed a little bit from there as well. I'm also going to be attempting to stick a couple of lights in there as well to help see inside, and again, given that impression the museum is lit, the inside, I was going to say interior, that's the word I was after, the interior of the tank for visitors to be able to see inside it. So that's the rough plan for that. So I'll probably go more of an in detail, plan of what's going on with this model in the kit review. There'll be a link. I'll put a link in the description, hopefully if you remember in the top corner, and it will probably be at the end of the video anyway, as for the next video to watch. So yeah, so it says it looks a fantastically detailed kit, so I'm really looking to getting into this one. So in this episode we are going to be looking at doing the interior and painting it as well. I have gone a bit of a funny way of doing this, so you might see some, probably not so much in this one actually, but I've done some exterior parts already. I had an issue when I bought the kit. It was missing the entire sprue. So fortunately, when I got in touch with, if I can pronounce this right, Jumblee's models, again I'll put a link in the description for these guys. These guys were absolutely fantastic. I got in touch with them. They got pretty much straight back to me, saying what sprue is it that's missing, and we'll get something sorted. And they did within a week. The entire sprue that was missing landed on the doorstep. Customer service was absolutely fantastic. Also, their pricing is relatively reasonable. So check those guys out. Not sponsored in any way. I'm more than happy to always, put stuff forward if I think it's any good, and also I'll tell you if I don't think it's any good. So I'm always open and honest about these things. But yeah, check them out. And again, thanks to those guys for sorting this out. This project has been going a lot longer than it actually is going to be for you guys. I think must have been working on this for at least, at least a month before we're getting to this stage. I did as well have that zero commission build as well, so that kind of took precedent as well, but I was also missing that sprue anyway. So also hence why the Dornier 217 popped up quite randomly. So yeah, let's get straight into this kit. So grab yourself a brew and a bicky and let's jump straight into this. So it's always really good to start a new model with a new blade, and God, I need a new blade for this one. There's a lot of kit, there's a lot of plastic that needs to be cut up. So we'll start with the barrel. Well, not even the barrel, it's actually the breech. And there's quite a few parts to go in with this. Now, it is a little bit of a tight fit, admittedly. And to be fair, it's not too much. The only little bit that we had to sort of fiddle and fettle with was sort of the breech closing mechanism. I think that's the right words for it. It was a little bit tight, so I sanded it down a little bit just to make it fit. They have actually made this into sort of like a working part. Not quite sure why, but they have. But no, there's a lot of little bits and pieces to go with it, and you know, it's a really nice and interesting little bit to build, you know, on its own. Now, it was a slightly wee bit warped, and there was a little bit of a seam going on, but it was nothing I really was going to worry too much about, because a large chunk of this isn't actually really going to be seen. It's mainly sort of like the breech and loading part. A large chunk of this will be basically going through the mantlet, so we're not really going to see all that much of it. But it says there's a lot of small parts. There's a few brass parts which ended up actually getting broken. It's actually, I think it was this one here, when trying to put the side guard in for the I'm going to say observer. I can't remember the positions very well on these guys, but I know it's a sort of like a shield for the guy on the opposite side of the loader, and also you're not even going to see that anyway, so wasn't again all that much of a massive issue. Now this is the area I was talking about. Need a little bit of sanding to get to fit in, but nothing major. And of course as well, that side piece there was a wee bit of a tight fit, but look at it, it looks absolutely amazing. And just like the actual thing, I'm just so blown away by the, you know, the level of detail that's going to this kit. And the more I go through it, the more I'm so glad that I got this kit to do. Even though there's a lot of parts to deal with and a lot of fiddly parts, you know, it's just worth every penny on getting this kit. So now at this point we come to one of our first options of how we want our barrel to sit. Now this part is for the mounting, or some part of the mounting for the barrel, and they give you the option of having the barrel in three different positions, which is basically straight and level, elevated, and elevated a bit further, I think. So that's what those three sort of bits are there that we're looking at. And I decided to go for the straight and level, which, as much as I think it actually looks better, might have been a little bit of a mistake, because it does obscure a lot of what I want on the other side to be seen. But overall, I think it's going to look really, really good. So at this point now, we've pretty much got the entire breech assembly done, and it's on its mount as well, with a nice few little added brass details, which again we're not going to see. We move on to the barrel, which is a nice solid piece, small seam line to get rid of, but nothing major or anything to worry about. And we're only into a few parts here as well. The muzzle itself nicely is a single piece, and there's a few bits just as the connector parts to do, with a small brass piece, which again not quite sure why that's actually in there. because again, most of this you're not really going to see it once it's all put together. But it's all really nice. I'm not really minding this, considering how much of this isn't actually going to be seen. But again, the barrel, nice and straightforward to do, and I'm quite glad I saved myself the money in buying one of the barrel upgrades for it. What Rifield's also done is made things a lot easier of the assembly of the barrel parts, as where there's a shaped end or connector, so everything goes in the right way up, right way around. Not that it overly makes all that much of a difference with the barrel, but it does make it a lot easier when we come to fit the barrel to the breech. And I've got to say, the piece on its own is just awesome. It could be just a model in itself. So as we move on to the lower hull, which is made up of several parts, this is where I actually found out that was missing a sprue, because there's one of the sprue parts actually helps you fit all this together, because the bottom part is one piece and the sides are four pieces, if you like, two pieces aside. But again, just looking at this detail, it's immense, and again, none of this is going to be seen. You've got all these well beads underneath the hatches or plates or whatever they're for underneath there that are not going to be seen. And again, just this seam line that's underneath like the shelf there, you're not going to see that, but look how crisp all that detail is. So you can see in the bottom of the hull we've got the torsion bars and some framework for the flooring to sit on. This is part of the kit itself, not part of the upgrade kit I bought for it. And with the suspension, they've given you the option of having it flexible. So all you'll need to do is, you'll see these little notches right at the bottom. All you need to do is just nip them off, and then that will give you flexibility. Those are in there if you don't want it and to have, a fixed suspension unit. And as you can see here, because I've for some reason done this in the wrong order, but you can see there, once you put them in, all you need to do is find that little locating pin within the hull to fix that in position. Now, I know I'm probably going on about this quite a lot, about all these parts not being able to see them, but I just wanted to show the perfect example of this. This little part here, nicely detailed. And what should we do? Let's bang a cover over it. Now, of course, I suppose most manufacturers, what they'll do is they'll make that into a fairly simple part, and the detailed part that sticks out on the end detailed. But Riffield, no, they like to give us every ounce of detail possible. And we have one of the other parts, large parts, that is a build within itself. He's right up at the front here for the driver, with his pedals and his dials and the radio on the opposite side there. But just again, immense detail. I know I keep saying it, but it's just absolutely mind-blowing for me within this model. But as you can see there, it all fitted into place, and it fitted really, really well. So that's pretty much it for the main interior builds. There is still these racks to go in, but I'm going to do those a little bit later because I want to paint those separately. So I've seen a few different variations of how the interior is supposed to look. And I've gone for the mainly white, or more of an off-white, kind of a creamy colour, and red flooring. Even though I've seen quite a few of them with just pretty much red primary interior, I've decided to go for this because it's going to work for me later on. So now we're going to move on to a bit of sponge chipping to add some good chunk of weathering. As you see, it's a really easy technique to do. Just get a sponge, dab most of the paint off it, and you're left with a few light flecks, and just work your way. Start light and build your way up, as I have done with the floor and sort of walkway area. sort of the high traffic areas, the areas that I've obviously concentrated on the most. I also did chip up other parts, but for some reason I haven't got any footage for that, but you'll see that in a moment. So what I'm going to move on to do now is a bit of a wash. I'm actually using AK's dark brown wash for this. This is mainly, or is the idea of this is for dark or green vehicles, but I've used this for grime as well, because I think it works quite well. I did add a little bit of thinners, as you can see there, to make it really thin, so we can play around with this a little bit better. It is quite a thick enamel paint, but thin this out just to sort of, hopefully in some cases, easily flow into all the corners. And also you can see some of that chimping I mentioned a little bit earlier on. I used that sort of dark grey colour for the chips. I probably could have done it with the primer colour first, but I decided to go with this. This to me looked a little bit more sort of pleasing for the eye and a little less complicated, and to be fair, there's probably very little chance of seeing most of this anyway. Now, to clean it all up, really simply, is just a bit of white spirit on a brush. You don't want it completely saturated, you just want it really, really damp, or slightly damp, not really damp, because otherwise you're going to end up washing away what you've done. So just a damp brush, and just force it into them creases. And if you want, you can actually spread it out a little bit further, and it will give you a little bit of a filter as well, to give you, again, that more grimy and well used vehicle. I also use the same stuff for the flooring as well. Again, just tying it all in, because otherwise it's going to look too clean, too bright, and I'm not all about that clean look. Now, you might also have noticed a little bit earlier on that there's these bits of masking tape stuck down. Now, of course, what I want to do with this is basically, when I peel this away, it gives a nice, relatively clean area and some shadow marks where these bits of masking tape have been. The reason for these is that the idea is that when the museum had taken on the tank, they removed that side's shell racking to be used as a display piece, and leaving obviously shadows of where it was originally. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out as well as I kind of planned it to, because you can't really see it very well. And then I also realised that actually underneath there would have been the red primer they used. So later on, I'll go around and remask where those shadow marks are, and put a bit of red primer down. And I actually left this unweathered, because again, kind of thinking that there's a good chance that it's probably going to be still a little bit clean under there. So there we go, my friends. That's the interior done and painted. As you can tell, it is incredibly detailed, most of which you're not going to see. But it's just, to be honest with you, it's quite awesome that the fact that it's just even there. It's been great. looking at all the stuff that they've put into this, they could have probably built their own actual tank with all the information they've got to build this kit. So, you know, nice one on Ryfield. You know, you have done a fantastic job of detailing the kit. Okay, yeah, there is a couple of fitting issues around sort of the gun barrel, the breech mainly. It was a little bit of a tight fit. There was a couple of tight fits within the flooring area as well, but nothing that was actually really, you know, any big deal. You know, it's all gone in, and that's the main thing, and it looks good. Also the main thing. You know, so yeah, fantastic start to the build so far. So all that's left for me to say is thank you guys ever so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. I hope you'll stick around for the rest of this build. If you haven't done so already, or you enjoy what you see, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Also, of course, put bell notifications on, which will tell you when the next video is available. So again, thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.